Yeah, so hey, Pauline, how you doing today? How's your day been?
It's been good, busy with clients, and yeah, just waiting patiently for 10 o'clock to come around. Usually I'm
Okay.
getting ready for bed at this time.
Yeah. Thanks for staying up late to do this. To do this. Yeah.
That's all.
So go ahead and let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, Pauline.
Oh, okay. So, hi everyone. My name's Pauline Ryeland. My business is Intimacy Whisperer, and I work as an intimacy, sex, and libido coach and educator. So, I primarily work with either single people or couples around challenges that they're having in the bedroom. It's not just the bedroom stuff. I also do mindset coaching. I'm trained in NLP. Do you know what NLP is?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
natural language.
No, neuro linguistic programming.
There you go. There you go.
Working with the subconscious to bring about change on the conscious level. So, working a lot with emotions and belief systems and things like that. So, mindset coach, tantra teacher and educator, sexological body worker, and I also work with trauma and anxiety as well. So, I just sort of blend all of those practices together and work with people's problems.
Excellent. So, what got you into that, and how did you get down that path? What made you choose to go down that path in your life?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try and keep it short. It's not like I woke up one day and thought I would like to be a sex therapist. It was not in my space at all. And I was just doing a lot of my own personal development work, and I was doing a sacred sexuality course, which was sort of tantric based, but it's a shamanic one. And somewhere in the middle of that, I got this download saying that you're a sexual healer, and I was a bit like, I don't know what that is. We're just going to park that over there. So I had no clue. I mean, then just various different things started coming up, and I did my NLP training, and I was going through a process with my girlfriend about working out what my niche would be. And I knew I didn't want to be a business coach, and they always say, teach what you're passionate about. And so I'm going health, emotional well-being, things along those lines. And every time I open my mouth, my girlfriend just slammed her fist in her hand and yelled at me, boring, quite aggressively, actually. So I felt like my back was against the wall, and out of my mouth comes the word sex. It just sort of like tumbled out. And she goes, "That's it. You know more about sex than anybody I know. That's a really good area to specialize in. Like, there's so many people need this work." And I just sat there going, "Oh my God, I'm not sure about that." I sat with it for a couple of weeks. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a go. I applied the principles of an NLP coach, which is like looking at the problem, looking at where the person, what their outcome of what they'd like to be doing, come back to the problem and dig down below the surface to get to all the underlying core issues that are driving that issue, and go
Right.
from there and have it back. I've been doing it for about 14 years now, and I know that's my style work. That's what I'm meant to be doing.
Right. Excellent. Like for a lot of us, like when we get into something, there's things in our life that kind of drive us to that, experiences that we've had in life that kind of drive us to that path to make us want to explore a certain avenue that we choose to. So looking at like your past experiences in regards to relationships and things like that, because we know we all have different struggles within relationships. What would you say some of your struggles have been in previous relationships, and how did you navigate through that to get to the place you are now?
My own personal struggles.
Yeah, you can talk about your own personal, and you can talk about other experiences around that too.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just led a normal life pretty much. Got married, had a kid quite late. But my husband and I really weren't on the same page. We didn't have really the same values, and we really sort of just grew apart. So the marriage ended probably about 18 years ago. I've been in a few relationships since. Um, but I think it's just a matter of, for me, it's about keeping growing and evolving. I think that's really important on all levels. So
Mm,
we all have baggage, we all have stuff from previous relationships, but it's about resolving them and sorting through them so that you can be ready and be open to stepping into something new. A lot of people are driven by their past relationships, and they don't actually really resolve them,
mm.
and so they just keep repeating that cycle.
Right.
I think that's important. to
And
look at.
like after your marriage, what was that period in time like for you? Like because obviously like coming out of a marriage, things didn't work out the way you planned at that time. So
Yeah.
that time might have been a challenge. What was that period in time like for you after that period?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, raising a daughter on my own with no support. Yeah, so it was pretty tough, and I know there's a lot of women that go through that. I probably had it a little bit easier than some on some levels, but you know, it's tough raising kids on your own, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
man or woman raising the children. I think it's really tough, but you sort of just dig down and you just do the best that you can do.
Excellent, excellent.
So
So you
there's no
said
guidebook, so you just got to sort of like roll along and see how it works how it works, and hope for the best, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you said that you have a girlfriend now that you're with.
So that was my daughter.
Oh, your daughter. Okay, okay, okay.
Raising my daughter on my own. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't swing that way. No.
Yeah, okay. So, like a lot of women that like have come out of a relationship that didn't necessarily work out, they can go through certain kind of trauma within them that kind of causes a sense of shame and guilt that their relationship didn't work out because they had a plan of how things were gonna plan out and work out for them. And when it didn't go that way, they kind of develop this sense of, like I said, shame and guilt. What would you say to women that are going through that kind of sense of guilt that their relationship didn't work out, and how can they move forward with their life, in your opinion?
Um, I guess, we get fed this fairy tale of this is how a relationship and how life is meant to work out. But, you have to be able to validate yourself that you've made the right choice for you in that moment. If that relationship wasn't working for you, there's obviously looking at the bigger picture of why that relationship wasn't working. So it's worse to stay in a relationship because it's not going to help you or your children if you've got children. So there's the whole thing of staying with the partner for the kids doesn't benefit the kids at all because they're intuitive. They know that something's not right. So it's giving them a false bravado anyway. So it's really about coming back down and recognizing that you're honoring yourself. And that's why you're not in that relationship anymore. And to be in that relationship would be disrespecting yourself. So it's about reclaiming your power.
Right, right, yeah, yeah, definitely. When you mentioned like about the kids, a lot of people try to stay together because of the kids, but it's actually making their relationship with the kids worse because they're, in conflict with each other, and the kids are witnessing this,
Yeah,
and
100%.
it's not really going to help them progress in that kind of way that they want to.
No, it's very, very rarely going to help the situation. I mean, if you're breaking up with a partner, it's not all roses at the beginning, that's for sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And also, I wanted to mention, like, with like professional life, right? Like a lot of women, they have immersed themselves into their work in their professional life to the point that it's kind of made them detach from their feminine side and their sexuality, so to speak, because they're so embraced with their professional life. But what they want to do is be able to get a partner and be able to embrace express themselves in a feminine way. How can they balance their professional life and still be able to express themselves and their femininity?
Well, I think for everybody, that's the journey that they're on to sort of find that balance. When you're the sole parent, you have to juggle both roles. You have to be in your masculine and feminine. If you're running a business, you have to be in your masculine at times to be running the business and doing the business, but it's also about recognizing when to be in flow. So, I guess for myself, as an example, I've been running my business for 14 years. And so I get that part of that is me being in my masculine, but I'm also allowed my intuition to really develop. And so at the beginning, I was very like structured about this, was how the session would go. And now when I do a consult and I go, well, these are the things that we need to work on. So we've got A, B, and C. However, if X, Y, and Z come up, then we need to perhaps go down that path. So I've allowed that fluidity to come into my work. That is my feminine speaking. And so sometimes I'm talking with someone, I might go, what was that? Let's just go down there because
Yeah.
I intuit that that's something that we need to explore. And then bang, something pops. And so like even yesterday, I had a client on Zoom and she didn't seem like her usual cheery self. Like she was very emotional in the consult, very emotional the first session. Second session, she was like flying. And the third one, she was a bit wobbly. And this one, I went, what's going on? And just sort of picked a little bit, and the next minute the tears came out and all the things started coming up, and I knew that there was stuff going on for her. So
Mm.
I was able to get into that and look at that and clear that rather than go on the path that I was perhaps going to go. It didn't matter.
Right, right,
It was
right.
about
Yeah, go
so
ahead, go
you
ahead. Sorry.
can, yeah, you can blend in that feminine with the masculine. It's just getting the awareness is
Right.
the key thing,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely, definitely.
You know, you have to, if you've got kids, and you've got a business, or even if you're going to work, you still have to be organised at home with the kids and the food and all those things to keep things functioning and running smoothly.
Right,
So it's about allowing yourself some free time and playtime and downtime, maybe if it is with the kids, running
right,
around crazy with them and doing different things with them. So it's just finding that thing that works for you to bring in that balance. The key is recognizing when you're too far in your masculine, what do you need to do to bring it back into your feminine?
right, right,
And
right.
that takes time for some people to learn as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, we're not robots. We have to be aware that we are human beings and we have like different things going on within us that can't
Mm.
fit into a box all the time. And we need to be able to account for that in our day-to-day lives and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just awareness is key. You know, and a lot of people aren't aware. And so sometimes, and these things tend to come about, especially when I'm doing coaching, it's sort of like we're clearing out all that negative stuff initially. So as we clear out all the negative emotions and the negative beliefs, we start to become lighter in ourselves. We start to become more empowered within who we are. And then we can start doing more empowering exercises. And for my clients, you know, as they sort of tap back into their sexuality and their sensuality, then we can sort of start weaving it all together. And so that helps them drop into their feminine a lot more as well.
Right, right. Along the lines of sexuality is also attraction, right? So we go out all the time and we see different people and we get attracted to different people that
Yeah.
we see. So, in the context of like human nature, what is your opinion or your viewpoint on monogamy versus non-monogamy and the fact that we get attracted to different people?
Oh, look, I think ultimately we want to be loved and to love. I think that's innate in our um, genetics, in our being to a
Yeah.
certain point. And so to have that one relationship that you can really build on and dive deeper in with is more common. I think, you know, people might go through lots of cycles and have, you know, more open relationships or be more casual or whatever. But I think in most people's lives, they get to a point where that doesn't serve them anymore, and they crave that deeper connection. And you can't get that if you're not in a committed relationship. I think
Okay.
more and more people are wanting that connection and craving that connection. And we live in such a disconnected world anyway. So that know that you've got that one person that's there, that's solid, that's got your back, that you can dive deeper in is the stuff that creates really solid relationships that do last a lifetime. So then I don't think when you've got that, you don't question it
Mm. So do you
because
think it's
it's like it fits perfectly.
right, right? So do you think it's impossible to have like a deep connection with more than one person?
I haven't seen it at this
You haven't
point in
seen
time.
it.
I haven't seen it, so I can't answer. I
Like,
haven't seen it.
like you did mention, finding a relationship that could last a lifetime. Do you think it's more likely to find one person to last a lifetime, or more likely to have a lifetime of multiple relationships? In terms of a lifetime, what do you think is more likely, in your opinion?
Well, I like to hold on to the fact that it is possible to have one relationship that lasts a lifetime. I obviously haven't had that one relationship. I've had multiple relationships, but I've only ever been in one relationship at a time. So there is a
Mm,
difference in that respect. You know, I think, I guess the world's changing a lot. I think a lot of people have been hurt and they're scared to get in relationships now. Um, And so a lot of people are choosing not to be in relationships for those reasons. And I don't think that's the right reasons to not be in a relationship. You know, it's like, well, heal those wounds that you can
mm,
get out there and, you know, and meet somebody. So I'd like to still think that, long-lasting relationships are still something that are there. I mean, I do meet plenty of couples that have been in a relationship for a long time. You can see that they still love each other, but, things have gone a bit wonky in the bedroom. So it's like we've, just got to fire things up again. And there's for various reasons that can happen.
Mm,
But I can see when they come to me that there is a solid relationship there.
mm. Yeah, you mentioned like you've been in like different relationships one at a time, and that's like most people, right? They've been in different relationships throughout their life, and maybe one at a time like that. So do you think like relationships have kind of a date that they kind of come to fizzle out, and then we move on? Is that what naturally happens, or do you think like it is a case of like people just haven't found the one that's supposed to last a lifetime?
I think a combination of both, to be honest. I think relationships can fizzle, for a variety of different reasons. And I think it's about always acknowledging and honouring and having that communication is key. Um, and then maybe you do meet that person that's going to last a long time. Maybe you have to try a few, the whole saying, got to kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. There could be a bit of truth in that to a point. Some
Right.
people are like, oh my God, where's my prince now? Like I've been waiting very, very long time. And other people are just don't sort of sweat it so much, don't stress it so much. It depends really individually on what you desire. Like, what do you want? Do you want a long-term relationship? Do you want to have that solid commitment? Are you happy just, floating along and seeing whatever comes up and go with the flow sort of thing? So, it's that thing of whether you want that committed relationship or not.
Right, right, right. And for people that have chosen like to go for a committed relationship and they've chosen monogamy, um, and but they're with their partner in this relationship, but somewhere along the line, there's been infidelity, right? Like they're either them or their partner has stepped out of the relationship, and let's say the person that has stepped out has not let the other partner know what has happened, and now they're carrying around this sense of guilt about what they've done, um, but they'd like to come clean to their partner, but they don't know how to go about coming clean to their partner because they'd like to clear the airways, so to speak. How can they bring out what has happened without destroying the relationship?
Ooh, don't know in the short term. That's a tough question, geez. Look, there's so many different ways that you could look at that, by you airing what you've done and because you're feeling guilty, you're just dumping your shit on your partner on some levels. And is it fair for them to hear that and to receive that? You got to like weigh it up and weigh the scenarios up. And I'm not saying go around lying either. It's just about you've got to weigh things up. Is it really worth having a discussion around what's happened, or just letting it go and then go off and deal with your grief, your guilt in another way? I don't have the exact answer for that. It has to come down to an individual choice point, but it's about thinking through that, and really it's about trying to recognize before you get to that point.
Mm,
You
mm,
know, like if that's going to happen, or you feel like that's going to happen, it's like on the fishing reel, reeling it back in and going, oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Why am I thinking this? So what's not working in my relationship right now that I am looking at this, or this is almost happened,
mm,
and try and actually catch it before it does. And then having that conversation with your partner going, look, something's not right in our relationship. We need to have a conversation because this has come up for me and I don't want to do this because I'm committed to you and I know in my heart I love you, but something's not working.
mm. Yeah.
Now, if they're not having sex and haven't had sex in 10 years, well, then that's, you sort of can go, I can understand. And so when I work with couples that, haven't had sex for a long time, it's like, well, it's a natural thing. It's part of being in a relationship to be having sex. It's the top three things, of a relationship. So if you're not having sex, then your partner might start looking at having sex elsewhere. Is that what you really want? And it's not what they want, but sometimes I don't know how to get around that problem of that issue of what it is as to why they don't want to have sex. So it's a really complicated question and complex answer because there's no right way or wrong way, really.
Mm.
So you have to, you could lay it on the line to your partner and then your partner just leaves. It's done. So you've got to look at all the different options and tune into yourself to find out what's the best way to proceed. And hopefully you haven't cheated and it's before that actually happens, recognizing the signs.
Yeah, right. So
My
you think
sorry, I
that's
just
fine.
realized.
Yeah. So would you say that not if something did happen like that, not mentioning it is a viable option?
No, I don't think it's really a viable option, to be honest, because for me, if I'm in a relationship, it's about being in my truth.
Mm.
And so let's say it was me that did the infidelity. I couldn't see that ever happening. But let's just say, hypothetically, if I did that, I wouldn't be able to live a lie. So I would have to be in my truth and share, knowing the consequences of that, of what that fallout could be. But that could be the end of our relationship. But by me stepping outside the marriage, it's almost like me making that choice point to have potentially brought that in. So it's sort of like a self-sabotage even. There's plenty of
Right.
people that operate from that function. But if it was me, it would be not like I said, I would never do it. I never have in my entire life. But if it was something that I'd done, I would have to be in my truth because that's about being integrity, and that's a really high value for me.
Right.
But not
Right.
everyone, but not everyone's like that, are they?
Yeah, I mean, like that baggage of lying, it only gets worse over time. So, like, either way of how it's gonna work out, whatever the outcome's gonna be, it's always best to just let the truth out because it most likely come out eventually anyway. You know.
It will always, it's like when you make a lie and then you make another lie and you keep having
Right.
these lies, they go around and around and around. They come back and bite you on the bum at some point anyway.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it's really about peeling it back and looking at your relationship and what's going wrong, and you might not know. So
Mm.
it's about then going to seek help from somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, I speak to like a lot of different women. I coach a lot of different women, and a lot of the issues that they face is anxiety towards relationships and within relationships. Now, you mentioned sexless relationships. Would you say that's one of the major causes of anxiety within relationships? And how can that actually be resolved if people are having like sexless relationships? Like obviously they want to speak to their partner about it, but what is the best way to go about doing that in order to resolve that situation?
Mm. Yes, it's interesting because I often speak to people at expos and things, and they go, "Oh, well, my husband would never come and see somebody like you," or that sort of thing. Or my wife wouldn't either. It's not always just the husband; it can be the wife or partner.
Mm,
Um, so initially, I sort of say, "Well, you need to have a conversation with them, but it's timing.
mm,
Do it when in the not do it. Pick the time when you're going to do it. So maybe if you're out at lunch and you're having a nice meal." And you're sitting opposite each other so you can actually engage with each other, talking and looking at each other to broach it, but to always broach it from your perspective, not theirs. Because as soon as you start going, we've got problems because you don't want to have sex, and then it's like the walls will go up and nothing will happen. So you have to sort of say, I feel really sad that our relationship has got to this point that we're not being intimate because I love you and this is a big part of the expression. It makes me feel sad. Don't expect an answer. Just express how it's making you feel. And then if they engage back, great. If they don't, they don't.
right,
But
right,
that's just like you got to do it bit by bit, slowly, slowly.
right, right, right. Expressing as opposed to blaming.
Yeah, have to because the wall will go up 100%. So it's that having that the right art of communicating, and sometimes I've sort of almost semi-scripted what my client could say, or it might not even be a client at that point. It could be just I've just had a conversation with them. We haven't even had a consult, but I just would sort of semi-script for them. This would be a good way to broach it. Do it this way.
Yeah,
Always bring
yeah,
it back to how you feel, and
yeah,
don't do a you this or you that because it's pointing blame. And then as soon as that happens, the walls are up, and you're not going to get them any further.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, you know, like a lot of people when they get into a new relationship, they get a lot of butterflies. They get excited about this new person that they meet that they just met, and they really want to get immersed into that relationship. But along the way of getting immersed in the relationship, some people start to lose their sense of self. So how can they get immersed into a new relationship without necessarily losing their sense of self in the process?
I think it's really important to have, um, well, when you enter into a relationship, it's about having similar values and obviously getting along and chemistry and having the same interests. I think it's really important still to have one or two things that you do independently, not to be joined at the hip,
Mm,
to have some separation, because when you have that slight bit of separation, it gives you your own sense of self and purpose, not just going to work, but maybe I don't know, you go and do Latin dancing one night, but your partner doesn't want to dance, but they're okay for you to go off and Latin dance. That's great. Actually, I do a bit of Latin dancing, and I see that a lot in community
right.
with a lot of people that have got partners, but their partners aren't interested in Latin dancing, but they're more than happy for their partners to go Latin dancing.
Mm,
So I think that that's healthy to have, and that obviously means there's trust because the partner's dancing with the opposite sex all the time. So that shows a level of trust as well. So it's having that sort of a couple of outside interests keeps that self. Once you've got kids, you lose your sense of self anyway. It just all blurs. You're a mum, and that's it. And that's unfortunately the truth. When you become a mother, husband gets moved down the pecking order because your whole focus and priority is on that baby and the nurturing and everything that comes in there. So that it can be difficult in the early years, definitely.
mm,
But
mm.
if people talk about these things, like I wrote a blog years ago, and you know, we go into birth and we have this birth plan
Mm,
of what would like to happen in the birth, how we'd like it to unravel, but we never talk about the afterbirth plan.
right.
Like, how can we include the partner a little bit more so that they don't move their pecking order right down below,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that you can do things that are including your partner with the baby and organising. Hopefully, you've got someone that can have the baby one night or something, so you can have that date night. But looking and actually planning what that can look like, nobody looks at it. Nobody looks at that
Yeah. Yeah.
until they're in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that would be a good thing if that was taught at the same time as the birth plan. What's the afterbirth plan for your relationship?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of subjects that weren't taught at the right time, like that we have to learn along the way, you know.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
no manual, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, like, you know, as coaches, like we speak to people all the time, like the people that we speak to, we learn different things from them. Like, so
yeah.
what would you say was some of the biggest things that you've learned as a coach from speaking to different people?
About their problems.
Yeah, about like in regards to relationships and like the kind of common problems that arise and what
Yeah.
you've learned from them. Yeah.
Um, well, lack of sex is definitely one of them. So libido.
Mm,
I work with a lot of women that have lost their libido. Um, it's not just the stereotypical menopausal woman or perimenopausal woman. I work with a lot of young women that have no sex drive at all. Working with a 24-year-old at the moment.
mm,
She's got no libido. She never really had one. It's about delving into that and looking at the reasons behind all of that. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things
mm,
that can get in the way of a relationship. And then from the man's perspective, um, their functionality and the issues that come with that, um, and how long they leave it before they do something about it. Surprises me. If I was a man and my penis wasn't working for maybe a couple of months, I'd be going, God damn it, what can I do to fix this? I wouldn't be waiting like 5 years
right,
and then think
right,
about doing something because they've met somebody and now it's not working.
mm,
It's like, I don't know. I don't understand why men do that, to be honest, but that seems to be quite a common thing.
yeah,
So, that's one aspect. A lot of people come with trauma and it's not resolved, and the trauma can feed into the relationship. and affect the relationship as well. So it's about really looking at the trauma. I do amazing trauma sessions. This process called havening. One session can just knock out the worst traumas. It's pretty phenomenal. And I've only been doing that for a couple of years now. So I always ask my clients if they've got trauma, because the trauma will be contributing to whatever issue, whether if it's not that they're not having sex or got no sexual desire, it will be contributing in some other way because they're in that flight, fight, freeze mode.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be checked out. They're not present. And I teach about being present to self and connected to self, so then that you can be present and connected with your partner. So that's one thing I've definitely learned is the majority of people aren't connected to themselves at all.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Pauline, thank you so much for coming onto the show and expressing everything and sharing everything that you've shared. Where can people find out more about you, contact you, and find out more about what you do?
Yeah. Okay. So my website is my name, Pauline Ryeland. So Ryeland is Ryeland, but you can always Google Intimacy Whisperer and I'll come up. I live in Queensland, Australia, but I work with clients all around the world. So Zoom, we can always, we've sorted out our time zone. So we can always sort the time zone out. Not too complicated. It's probably more complicated trying to work with people in interstate at the moment because we've just had daylight saving hit in the two southern states, but Queensland doesn't do daylight saving. So every time I send them a Zoom link, it's like, this time New South Wales, this time Queensland, because they just don't, they think it's their time. It's quite funny. So yeah, they can find me there and on my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
That's how you found me actually on LinkedIn.
Yeah. That is for sure. And for the
The
viewers,
sorry, I was just going to say, it's the first successful thing that's ever happened to me on LinkedIn.
yeah, I think it's a great platform. I think it's a great platform.
Yeah.
And for the viewers, all of that information will be in the description so you can get in touch with Pauline. Pauline, once again, thank you so much for coming
You're
on to
so
the show.
welcome.
And is there any last words that you'd like to say before we end the session?
I think, if there's challenges in the relationship, it's about looking what that might be and seeking out someone to talk to. Sometimes I work with people that are in relationship, but I just see the one person. I don't always see both. So it depends on your case and how you function, whether you want to bring your partner to a session or just talk to me or to somebody. But the bottom line is you can't keep functioning with the elephant in the room and sweeping things under the rug because it's not going to magically change and magically fix itself. You actually have to seek help.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pauline.
You're so welcome. Bye.